looks like a genius again. Nostradamus, one of his 4 players and 2 of his top 4.
Listen, I said it.
Molina Mike, tear him apart.
I mean, I told you there's 4 guys you've got to beat if you want to win these tournaments. There's 4 guys you've got to beat. But what can I say?
Come on, I gotta get you 2 going at it right away. Come on, Mike, tear him apart.
I got nothing for Jimmy today. I got nothing. usually I do, and I don't shy away from it. But yeah, I mean, Lofty gave him all the hell he can handle. I did go and say Mika was going to give Shane some problems, and he did, and he should have put him away, but he didn't. Alvin just looked like a runaway train. So what can you do? But I think the 2 best players were there. It's remarkable what Albin's done over the last 2 years. But it's it's the man's day, the man's week, the man's year.
We're definitely gonna get into Albin, because I think the serious question needs to be asked: is Albin the greatest, or at least the best tournament player on earth today? Because I think that's a good question to ask. But we'll get to that in the future. Let's talk about Shane first. Demetrius, you have been one of the biggest Shane Van Boening fans closeted your entire life. You have in our private conversations, all you do is worship the dude. How do you feel today?
It was a very, very emotional day. There's a lot of narratives attached to it, but in the end, here's a guy that just, took his, worked hard his whole life, got to the highest level of pool, did everything you could possibly do, under the sun with pool, except win a world title overseas. And, for him to get it done the way it went down, I mean, it's just very, very heartwarming. I think that there was a lot of questions about whether or not that would ever happen in his life, and to see it come together, it's really, really awesome, man. I would say that might have been my number 1 pool memory. Like, if there was a match of pool in my lifetime that was kind of profound, I'd say that was it.
And you've sparred up with him plenty of times when he came to the cities. I mean, you were probably agent zero for him, him or Jesse Engel, that he called up to basically spar around with. I mean, you've played a ton of pool with this guy too. How does that feel, knowing that you've now played with the world champion?
That doesn't. I mean, I appreciate the question. I've played Shane many times. I've also played him a lot in tournaments, regionally and nationally. I just run into the guy. It's like, don't buy me in the Calcutta if he's in the field, because I'll probably end up playing him anyway. Yeah, of course I've played him a long time. I've known him a long time, but in the end, I've played many world champions. Fortunately, I've had the opportunity, and but really, I mean, I've played some world champions that happen to win a world championship that weren't necessarily, like, for example, I took a set off Daryl Peach one time, and it's like it still didn't. I'm not trying to discredit the guy at all, but it takes an amazing person to win a world championship, but Shane is one of a few that's beyond that, and so it was really cool to see him get that title. Yeah,
sure. Mike, what's your thoughts on it, just as a general thing?
Yeah, I'm like Demetrius. It was emotional for me too, and I try to not to get my fan appreciation get caught up in that mess. I try to be unbiased when I can, and but I was 100% rooting for the guy from the final. I mean, really since the Mika match, because I was half asleep and I got up and it's like 10-4 or something, or 10-3, and then I got to watch the entire comeback, which is pretty remarkable. And I didn't think he had a chance in hell. I didn't, not until like 10-8. But like, I was emotional, man, and I don't get that way when it comes to seeing stuff like that. But like certain times in my life when I'm watching sports and certain storylines just really hit home for me and hit in my soul, and that's one of them, because I wanted to see him get that monkey off his back, and you can see the emotion and the true happiness even when he made it just to the final. I think Emily posted that picture of Shane just smiling from ear to ear, like that's like a kid on Christmas morning type of smile, completely from every ounce of your being type stuff. And when he started to make that push, like 10-6, it's like, get there, just get there. And I'm yelling at the TV and I'm cussing at it when Alvin jumps that ball, the second jump, you know, I'm jumping up and down and and I'm pacing and I'm sweating and my hands are sweating, and I was rooting for the guy 150%. I really was. And I couldn't be more happy for him.
Sure. Jim?
I don't think we should underestimate what a massive day that is, what just happened. I mean, it's the moment that everybody's been waiting for 20 years, you know, and some people were starting to doubt whether or not it would ever happen. And I personally, I know that a lot of people in a lot of sports, they like the best player never to have sort of category. You know, you had it in golf with Colin Montgomery, was world number one for many years, never won one of the majors. You had it in snooker with Jimmy White, never winning the world championships. It's not a nice tag to have, to be that one guy, you know. And it would have been indicative of 9-ball pool, but also a tragedy at the same time if it had never happened for Shane, because that is how 9-ball pool works. You know, you don't necessarily have the best player winning all the time. You know, it's so unpredictable. So many strange things can happen. But it would have been crazy to think that Shane could have played for all those years and it would continually not happen for him, being as good as he is. So, I mean, I was personally delighted. I don't carry the whole Europe, USA, Mosconi Cup kind of.
Oh my God!
I don't carry that outside of the 4 days that the Mosconi Cup goes on. I just personally don't. I don't think the players do either. So I was even rooting for Shane. I'd have probably been about 55-45 for Shane to win that, because God knows if he hadn't have won that match, it becomes even more unlikely that he gets.
There would have been a lot of talk about his legacy if he goes and falls short again in the third World Championship final.
There's questions about, you know, the greatness of him. Is he the greatest of all time?
Well, let's get into that. I want to transition now to Rob.
Let me just finish what I was going to say. There was always going to be a question about, you know, he hasn't won a world title. For me now, he is in any conversation. And if he's not in any conversation about being the greatest of all time, then it's the wrong people having the conversation, you know. Well, I'm not saying he is, but he's in that group now.
Well, there's a reason I left Rob for last, because I wanted to have this conversation with him, being the resident old guy here. If you're not putting Shane as number one all time, who, Rob? Is he the greatest of all time with this win?
That's a tough question. I enjoyed the interview that Kelly and him had, because she kind of brought out how important this particular tournament was to him in his own personal life and all the achievements he's ever had, except this one, and what it meant to him. And he came out with the facts that it means a lot. This tournament was really important in his career to capture. And I like that. And then the commentators talked in the earlier matches about the side he was breaking from on the table. You know, he's breaking from the right side, you could say, and his opponent was breaking better from the left side. And they talked about whether he would switch sides or not and what he would do. And then when Kelly asked him that too, he just said, yeah, I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to go to that side where the balls are breaking up a little bit better in there. And he said, his exact words were, I can't afford to have dry breaks playing these kinds of players I'm playing, because you're going to lose. You break dry twice in a race to 11, you're going to lose. And his match with Mika, of course, was beyond reason. Seriously, the only other match I can think of I've ever watched and witnessed was when Alan Hopkins was ahead 10-0 in a race to 11 out in Vegas one year, and he lost 11-10. And it was you could see the pain and the agony on his opponent's his face when he lost that match, and you could get the feel throughout the match that there was a chance it was going to happen, because when he did get turns, in the middle of that match, he had opportunities, not to lose that, and he didn't take advantage of them. And so I got that feeling too. I think, is he the greatest pool player of all time because of this particular win? Boy, I'm at a crossroads there. I mean, we've had 70 years of world-class pool playing by just magnificent players through the times. I mean, when things changed to 9-ball from straight pool, a lot of other things changed too, and that was attitudes of people around the world, pool players. Here, all of a sudden, we had this game where somebody could sit in their chair for an hour and 20 minutes and not get a turn.
I think Alvin was there about that long for part of that finals.
Well, yes, of course. You know what? Out of the score, final score 11-6, correct? That's
13.
13-6.
13-6. Yes. The jump shot that he made was poignant to me because he just feathers that 7-ball. And the cue ball is going to go that way. You know that. He knows that. Everybody does. It has to. It can't go any other way. But they end up with that 7-ball right in between the cue ball and the next shot. Immediately, I said to myself, wow, that was an ugly roll. And that was just a little unlucky. Makes a great shot. And he really made a pretty darn good shot on the next ball in the corner, because that kind of hit the back of the pocket and jumped out, and then the cue ball goes in. So that, he hit the ball good. And so I really felt for him a little bit, but then of course Shane takes advantage of that mistake. And it was in he's on the hill, I think, at the time, right? When that happened. So that couldn't happen for him. That couldn't happen. That kind of unforced error, that little bit of a bad roll, couldn't have happened at a better time for him. And
Sure.
Of course he played great. He just did. But other guys did too. I would have to come back next week and do some analyzing over all the years I've watched pool and watched great players play to say whether I think it's like, who's the best golfer in the world? Is it Tiger or is it Jack? There's arguments on both sides. So, I couldn't just snap like this, Nate, and give you a yes, he is the best, always will be the best, or whatever. No, I just can't give you a definite on that.
The one thing that stood out,
sure.
The one thing that stood out for me was his attitude in that final. He just seemed, the entire time, he just seemed determined to let Alvin at the table as little as possible.
Right.
If he had you talk about players playing the percentages, and you look at a ball and you think, okay, I've got a safety here, and I'm 70-30 to make a lock-up safe, and I'm 60-40 to make the shot. He was taking the 60-40s because he just wanted to keep Alvin off the table. And some of the balls he made just to start his racks, he wasn't getting a clean look all the time at his lowest ball after the break. And he'd made a decision early in the tournament, I am hitting this break as hard as I can. The consistency he had hitting the break that hard and stopping that cue ball in the middle of the table every single time. I think I could probably count on one hand how many times he lost the cue ball on his break, hitting it as hard as anybody was in the entire tournament. He just went all out, aggression. And in the final, he knew, I got to keep Alvin off the table. I can't give him the chance with winner breaks to peg these racks back.
Well, Demetrius, what do you think of that?
Amazing to watch. It was just so strong mentally in his head.
Well, I think, and I want to, at some point, I want to respond to the greatest of all time question. But as far as his aggression level, I know that when it comes to, and of course, we also have to get back to Alvin at some point, because I think Alvin is such a great mover when it comes to a player who just knows how to extract the maximum from every situation. When Alvin has an opportunity to convert, like a scoring opportunity, he converts. When he has a good safety opportunity, he lays it down well. When he's got a bad safety opportunity, he finds ways, and we saw it twice. 2 shots stick out to me. Once he had to jump kick at a ball, and Shane played a good save. He jumped and kicked at it and stuck his cue ball and knocked the ball up table, left Shane a really table legs. Oh, that was when the 1-6 tied up, and Shane couldn't do anything with it, and he went on to win that game. Another time, when Shane kicked in the 1 ball, and then he played a return save for the 2, Alvin kicked and stuck again, and with a high ball where the cue ball hit, kicked the 2 up table and left Shane another length of the table shot off the end rail, and Shane had to come with back-to-back real very difficult shots. Of course, Shane made them, which is stupendous. But the point is that when Alvin's in a good spot, he converts. When he's in a favorable spot, he gets the maximum. When he's in a bad spot, he makes you earn it. He is such a dangerous opponent to let to the table. Even when Shane played safe and he had to kick to the head rail twice softly and try to tie up on those balls, it's like, really, you have – so I understand when I was looking at that match, I remember thinking if Shane has any chance of winning this match, I felt that he was kind of an underdog going into this thing. But I felt that if he had any chance, it would involve keeping Alvin completely in his chair. And in the beginning of the match, when it was one rack, I was really feeling like Shane, that wasn't going to get there for Shane because it was just a matter of time before Alvin laid down a huge, package or the percentages just ate him alive and Alvin just outmoved him the rest of the set. And so Shane did exactly what he had to do. The kick shot on the 1 ball where he not just hit it, but made it and then played a return save and then came with those 2 hard shots. To me, that was the beginning of the rally. And I think if Shane had done anything less than that, I don't know that it would have worked out. So, Shane, the only thing that could work.
They say in a sport like this, you should don't play the occasion and don't play your opponent. Play the table. Well, Shane didn't play the table. Shane played his opponent and he played the occasion and he played the game he needed to play for that precise moment in time. And it was great to see. It was amazing to see it. He played the perfect match, and he even though he made what a lot of players, what Shane would probably consider as probably not the correct shot selection all time, but to win that match, he knew he had to take those extra little risks to keep.
So it's not just play the table all the time.
Yeah, to keep Alvin in his chair. He did exactly
you have to play the opponent.
Brilliant. Some of the shots he played just to get started in his racks were incredible. Just fantastic to watch. Brilliant.
We will get back to the greatest of all time conversation because I think that's an interesting one to have. But Mike, what do you think on everything that's been said about the aggression?
Well, I mean, you saw from the very beginning, Shane took on like an early 1 ball that he missed that let Alvin go and tie up the match at 1-1, and he overcut the ball. His stroke was a little jerky. You can tell he wasn't quite feeling comfortable, and Jeremy acknowledged as much, through the first few racks. But once Shane got a rhythm, he was dancing out there, and it was right around that midway point of the match. And I never really felt like he was going to go and run away with it up until I saw him just have that step, like that Sky kind of step that Sky goes and gets. And if you watch Sky enough, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, Alvin, we didn't really see him as composed as we usually do when it comes to his safeties. He sold out a couple of balls that I was really surprised of. And what I mean by selling out, like he still left it tough, but we're used to him putting them in dead jail. I know he had that one where Shane had to go and kick at that 1 ball, which was just phenomenal. I mean, but it laid up good too. But there was a few, and I forgot which. It was right around that like 4-6 kind of range.
Well, he had the 1-3 on the side rail. He had the 1-3 on the side rail, but to be fair, he had used up his extension and the clock started beeping, and he just had to chip the ball and leave distance. He didn't. That was one of the
And that's what I mean though. Just as far as him, like because we're used to him putting them like locking them up where you're not going to be able to see anything, And they're both really great at that. I don't know. I never felt like he was going to go and just get there because Alvin. Both of their breaks were very inconsistent. That 1 ball was flying for Alvin whenever he did go and get a break. Shane, the only time that cue ball was out of line is whenever it got kicked. Because before he's hitting it square, it's going right up and it's dead right there in the middle. We saw Alvin make a mistake on his break where he's putting it with too much top. It pops, stops, but then that top just carries it right into that side pocket, which was a really big turning point in the match.
I think it was at 4-4, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think that was 4-4.
Yeah. But I don't think like Alvin didn't play bad. Like, that's the thing, you know. I thought, and I don't think Shane broke well enough early on to go and win that match. He found a gear. And not just that, but Shane capitalized. That's the biggest thing, because we've seen in finals when Shane had opportunities before where he didn't go and keep his opponent sitting down. Because let's say if it continues on, 8-6, 7-7, or 8-7, 9-7, 9-9, all bets are off. I'm with Demetrius. I think Alvin was the favorite going into that match, if for nothing else, for a mental edge that he's had Shane's number in the past, So it was remarkable,
Well, I'll give you guys my interpretation of the match. Is I honestly saw Shane, like, if there's one thing that you can say about Shane when he gets to these big things, it looks like he wants it too bad. Like, when you see him playing he's the last couple semifinals, quarterfinals, he makes it to all the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then it just looks like he wants it more than anybody else in the world. And then he just has a couple slip ups because it just looks like he's trying too hard. It doesn't look like he looks like he's too rigid out there. He looks like he's just too boxed, and he just can't really open up and just play his game. And I'm not going to lie to you. I saw that again right here. Mike said that he didn't get settled in until he kind of started putting that run together at the end of the match when it was 6-5 or whatever. And the next thing you know, it's 11-6. And even when Shane is winning those 5 games, he never looked settled in to me. I mean, it looked like he was starting to get settled in, and then he'd play kind of a loose positional shot, and he'd get kind of goofy on a ball, and you could see, the cameras go straight to his face, and he's kind of laughing to himself, and you can see that he's talking to himself the entire time. And that same level of rigidity I saw in that finals that I saw in the last semifinals for the last 6 years, but he never made the crucial mistake that he would make in other of those world championships, whether it's, the finals or whether it's the semis or the quarters or whatever it was. And he just kept on staying in good enough line, and his shot making was just good enough that he never got himself into that position where he made the mistake. I mean, I'm watching him play and I'm like, when is it going to come? When is it going to come? And it just never did. And he just kept on making shot after shot after shot. And they were never crazy shots, but they're just shots that you have to, incorporate a rail. You have to go to I remember there's an eight ball in the exact center of the table, and the 9 balls in the top left, and then the 7 ball in the middle of the table, the 8 balls in the top left, and then the 9 balls right where it's normally at. And he has to draw a ball back, maybe 2 inches, something like that. And he ends up drawing it back 8 inches, and he has a back cut on, and he has to go all the way to the end rail and then come back up for that ball. And, he's kind of, it's not a hard shot to execute, but he just was always battling with those weird positional shots where he has to incorporate one extra rail. And he just never made the ultimate mistake that got him out and allowed Alvin to open up once that 6-6 was in there. I guess that's kind of my reading of the match is he still played too tight, but he just never missed. He never got out of line.
I didn't see him playing in a 9-ball final. I just saw him playing 9-ball. That was the difference. After that middle of the match, he was just playing 9-ball like he's done his whole life. That's what I gathered from it.
I think, yeah. I know it's interesting that Mike says that, because my take is different than Nate's. I felt like you were saying that you see Shane trying too hard. I was talking with my friend Josh, and one time he was talking about a player, and he was saying that this player fake tries, where he's not heart and soul fighting for his life, fighting for the match, but he's trying to try, and he's forcing himself to try. And I've kind of felt like since 2016, Shane has been not, I've said it, I felt that Shane has been not at the same level of mental engagement he was from 2007 to 2016. He's kind of been in autopilot mode. I play good. I'm just going to hit the balls in. I'll win when I win. I'll win the matches I win. Don't I play good enough just to kind of have some things go my way, and I'll just turn in good performances, and hopefully it's enough. And then in big moments in the last few years, I feel like he's trying to try, but in his heart and soul, he hasn't really been it was the first time I've ever seen Shane where Shane looked like he knew he was the underdog. And I've never, in the past, Shane would just be like, I know I can get there with anybody. Let's see if it's my day. And yesterday it was like he was actually trying. So I feel like he's always trying to try. But yesterday, I could tell, I haven't seen him bear down like that since his first U.S. Open, 2007.
Jim, do you have a thought?
I mean, I mean, I watched all the interviews, and Jeremy was getting interviewed afterwards and said that there was a conscious decision made by Shane to have a little bit of a different approach, and he was talking to himself during the matches, and that was basically an extra part of his pre-shot routine. You know, it was something that he had decided within himself, and perhaps with the advice from other people. You know, this is something to go through. There was a lady that was there that was on the matchroom that was being interviewed, some sort of psychological coach or mental coach, whether or not this is something that had been discussed with her or not. Yeah. But this is obviously something that he brought forward. It's something I haven't seen him do before. Perhaps it's a little bit of a distraction for himself to try and relax himself. Perhaps it's just to make sure that he is in his normal pre-shot routine, that he's staying within himself. What I saw from Shane during that match was an unerring determination to win the match and not to be given it, not to wait for his opponent to fold. But if I want this title, I'm going to have to stand up and I'm going to have to take it. I'm not going to allow my opponent the chance to miss. And
Alvin ain't that guy.
And he knew he couldn't do that with Alvin. And that was the most impressive thing for me, that Shane went, it's almost like, you know, Alvin was a defending champion, but it's almost like Shane went in there saying, you're not having my title. This is my title, and I'm not allowing you the opportunity to take it away from me. You know, you've taken it from me once in 2016?
15.
15, was it? You are not
15.
taking it from me this time. This is my title. I'm here, and I am going home with it. And it was that attitude. And I mentioned this before we went live. Not in none of his matches did he have his Captain America shirt, his USA shirt. It was Shane Van Boening. It felt to me like he was standing there almost without the weight of the USA, the nation, and thinking about the whole, you know, the expectation. It's like, it's my title. I want to be there. And I think that moment, that win over Mika, when you saw him in his chair, and he mentioned himself in one of the interviews, in his chair saying, at that moment, I think he really believed, I can go home with this trophy. This is, you know, it's meant to be. This is going to be my year. And he really believed he could do it.
Yeah.
And I think you saw in the matches after that a Shane that was there saying, I'm Shane Van Boening. You want this? You think you're good enough to beat me? Bring it. I'm gonna bring my A game, and if you're gonna beat me, you're gonna have to do something better than me, because I ain't gonna. You're getting nothing for free off me. And it was for me, it's the best I've seen Shane. Maybe not the best I've seen Shane play, just pure shot making, but as an overall hard to beat match play, that's the best I've seen him ever play. Just pure match play in a tournament. It was. Yeah. He was John Higgins instead of Ronnie O'Sullivan, and the snooker.
He was not going to be denied today.
He was not going to be denied.
There was some of that going on. For sure.
It's his, and it was great to see. And I'm so happy for him. The more I think about it, it's been so good for the game as well. If you look at how social media is blowing up and everybody's talking about it, this is the one that everybody wanted to see. This is a landmark moment in pool. Everybody's going to know who won the 2022 World Championships.
I think how it looks at, like, you can look at and it's perfect timing that the Masters is going on, right? And you know, it doesn't matter what Bryson DeChambeau does, or what Justin Thomas does, or what Jordan Spieth does, or what Phil Mickelson does. It doesn't matter. None of those things are even important if Tiger's there. Once Tiger's there, like that's it. Golf is done. Like, we know what every single article is going to be written about. What does Tiger do? And honestly, like, a lot of pool is Shane. He is the Tiger of Shane. It doesn't matter what happens at these events. Yeah. Maybe this is my USA, my homerism, but even
it's not. It's true. I got ESPN notifications about Tiger's first round. You know, and I'm not subscribed to Tiger Woods updates. I follow golf. They're giving me the updates of Tiger.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
Nate's absolutely right.
Here you go. Here's perfect. Can one of you name me who won the Masters?
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler. But
Scheffler.
Not many.
Can you tell me who got second?
Not many people have
Scott. Was it Smith or Scott, or what was
Cameron Scott? Cameron. Yeah. But like, the point is like, if you ask the average person walking down the street, right now who won the Masters on Sunday, I bet less than 10% of them could tell you. I bet if Tiger won yesterday, that 90% of them would be able to.
No, you know what it is? The ones that don't have a clue, their guess will be Tiger Woods.
Yeah, right. But I think that's it. I think honestly, I think that's it. I think like Shane Van Boening is the Tiger Woods of golf. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens. Everybody cares about whether it's for good or bad. I mean, some people hate Tiger Woods, but they follow him like crazy. You know, I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but you damn sure I know what happens to them every single Sunday because I follow them like crazy. You know, I think that there's a lot of people who hate Shane Van Boening. There's more people who love Shane Van Boening, and he is the closest thing we have to a celebrity outside of the industry right now, and everybody loves him. I mean, everybody loves him, whether you love to follow him or you love to hate him. You love him.
Yeah,
and I think
I've never heard that before. Hate follow.
And you know, it's going to be a beautiful moment in 2023. There's going to be a Hall of Fame induction, and he is going to be one of them. And they're going to now induct him as a world champion. And that for me makes a massive difference for him to get inducted into the Hall of Fame as a world champion, because he's guaranteed he is going to be one of the two for 2023. It's you know, put money on it now. It's you're not going to get much odds, but
well, I'll say this: I'm not supposed to talk about my votes before they happen, but I don't think
it really matters.
I don't care, Pinozo. Shane Van Boening is going to be getting my vote, and I am a Hall of Fame voter. He will be getting my vote, I promise.
Well, that might be something Jim might actually bet on for once in his life.
I think
that might be something you bet on, Jim.
I'll make a bet with you. Out of all the inductions that have happened, 2023 will be the highest winning percentage.
If somebody votes no for Shane Van Boening, I want to find out who they are.
Yes, I can't imagine anybody that gets given a vote does not vote Shane.
Honestly, if Shane does not make it in, and there's somebody who votes it, like one person who votes against him, I honestly might even say like I'm done voting if that person continues to have a vote. I might have to. Like if somebody
no.
Well,
can I get a vote?
To be honest, actually, I guess how it works out is like there are a lot of so how the voting happens is there's three people, or there's three categories of voters. There are the voters who are the active living Hall of Famers. So that'd be like a Kelly Fisher, Darren Appleton, Meek Eminent people, you know, live people who are members of it. Media people, which is where I get my vote from, and then billiard historian type of people who, you know, they wrote books, you know, stuff like that. They've had they're historians of the game, and I guess could I see, you know, one of his peers not wanting him in or not wanting him to get a unanimous just because of, you know, jealousy or, you know, maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's, you know, I could see that happening. But if somebody like in the second or third category vote against him, like it's just I'd be a problem. So let's go back to the greatest of all time debate. And I've always been of the mindset it's for me it's Efren. For both, not only on the table but off the table. I mean, the dude's you know, he never looks happy to take a picture with somebody, but he doesn't say no to people. You know, he doesn't. You know, he could take a picture with you and doesn't have to look, you know, happy about it. And I think it's actually kind of charming to. It's actually kind of charming to see all the pictures he takes and how he's always grumpy in them, but he always takes them. And then every now and then you'll see one where he's actually happy, and I was like, wow, all right. That person must be important. But I've always been of the mindset it's Efren. But I think if Shane would win like a 10-ball title, I think I would have to switch. But I'm still in the Efren camp. But let's hear what you guys' thoughts are. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't care. I think he's one of the best of all time. I don't know if he's the GOAT or not. Or I mean, other people can go and have that debate. I think he's one of the best players of the modern age. Yeah. But I could say the same thing about Dennis. I could say the same thing about Alvin right now with the way he's playing. Yeah. There's a lot of players that have greatness now. There's a lot of players who have greatness before. But I do think it cements his legacy. I don't think you can go and say anything else about Shane. You know, whatever thought you had as far as him coming up short or him not being able to get the big one, or those days are done. He'll always be introduced as a world champion for the rest of his life. And that's the sport needed that. Yeah.
Demetrius?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it since it got brought up, and I would say that the problem with the GOAT title is that there's not only is there a huge raging debate about who it should be, but there's even a debate about what are the metrics that we measure. And for me personally, when I think about a player's greatness, there's three things that stand out. The first is dominance over their competition. The second is their longevity. How long, are they in action? And then the third one is what they do for the game. Do they elevate the game? And when I look back, one of the things that makes Efren so special is, of course, he was competitive for many, many years. And he actually, in some ways, elevated the game. He made contributions to the game. The game was not the same after Efren was around as it was before it was. The only thing that Efren, and Efren, I mean, for sure, first mention in any GOAT conversation with Poole, and he had a magic about him that was just super special. The only thing I'd say is if somebody was going to be analytical about it, which is hard for Efren because I just feel it's a feeling thing, but he didn't dominate over his peers like against Mike Siegel and Earl Strickland. And I mean, he won his share. He was there, Johnny Archer, but he didn't like dominate and elevate the game exactly in that way. He did with the kicking. So what I'm saying is I feel like Efren for sure is to the first name on that list. What I've seen with Shane is that, first of all, I really do believe that Shane elevated the game when he came on in 2007. I think that the European invasion, I shouldn't say that, but I think that the standards of play that you see in 2017 are directly a reflection of Shane raising the bar in 2007, and then all those 8 and 10 and 12-year-olds watching him play and then duplicating that in a lab and showing up 10 years later. Now everybody plays that way. I think Shane pushed the bar up in Poole. I do. I think that, and I think that he also dominated over this competition from 2007 to 2016. I think he was the most dominant player in the world at a time when the competition was tougher than it ever was. So in the 90s and the 80s. And so I think that his domination over his opposition for 10 years was, I don't know that we'll ever see that again as Poole is right now. So then you've got those two things, domination, elevating the game. The problem was the longevity. 10 years to be at the top. Obviously, I've got 0, so he's caught me clipped. But the point is that it's not 30, 40 years. And after the last 5 years of him kind of being kind of in a little bit of a muddled haze, it seems like, I guess so you look at his longevity as a slight little asterisk, and then you look at his lack of a world title as a slight asterisk as to like, is he the greatest of all time? So now you add in that world championship, and all of a sudden, if he rallies hard and goes on and has another second win in his career and, has another winning decade, that does a lot to cement him as a real strong candidate for GOAT.
Yeah. I like Aaron Lake's comment here. Maybe he says the GOAT has to include multiple disciplines.
Who's the best all-around player right now?
Masters of the table,
all-around player right now.
Dennis.
Right now, who's the best all-around player? Federer.
Dennis.
You think Federer can go and beat Shane in some one pocket? You can go and bet the moon. Jimmy.
But you asked my opinion. I think Federer is the best all-round player.
Where are you from, Jim? You might be from Europe, right?
Well, there might have just been quite recently an all-round championship that happened, and both took part in it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not always Europe against USA.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree.
Billy's won the one pocket title before at Derby. I mean, you're going to go say Billy's the best one pocket player?
If we talk about the GOAT, Earl is still the 9-ball GOAT for me. Earl is still the 9-ball.
I'm saying who's the best all-around player today?
Today, and you asked me, and I say Federer.
I don't think so. I think it's in discussion, but I think
you're right not to agree with me. That's why.
No, but I'm saying because we've seen Shane's going to be playing against more world-class competition today because of whatever's going on with Federer and his inability to go and play. That's my point.
I still think you're both wrong. We all
know you're terrible at this, Nate.
What are you talking about?
High five, Jimmy. Where you at, buddy? Give me a high five, buddy. Yeah, right there. There you go, buddy.
Remove 10-ball. Remove 10-ball. What game is Shane going to be Dennison right now? I'll definitely give you 10-ball. I might give you 8-ball. What else?
Yeah, but nobody really considers 8-ball.
I think Shane wins. I think if they play 9-ball now, I think Shane wins. I think that we're looking at a different Shane than we were looking at a year ago, and I think Shane wins 9-ball.
Well,
I mean,
what else
every
you got?
single
You
time.
got 9-ball
I mean,
banks and you got one pocket.
Well, let's say they're going to play next month. I mean, name me the time in Shane's career where we didn't say this is the time that Shane beats Dennis in 9-ball, and he actually does. I mean, name me that one time in like. When was the last time Shane beat Dennis in 9-ball?
I only remember a few long 9-ball sets. That was the ones from last
They were
year
close. I mean, you don't think there'd be even action? You don't
close.
think there'd be even action today with Shane against Dennis playing 9-ball?
No. What I'm saying is we always say this.
It's all moments of time. These guys could play each other 100 times and it ends up 50-50. It's all moments in time. You know, it's. You can't
I'm trying not to be prisoner of the moment.
Who wins an all-round between Shane and Dennis or Shane and Federer. They could go and play it and Shane could win it and then, Shane's a better all-round player. Yeah, but next week Federer could beat him in every discipline.
Sure.
These guys are just so good that if they just
when Federer goes and plays Chang some 10-ball, then we can go and talk about it.
If one of them has
when you're playing Alex and Jeff DeLuna, you're not. I'm sorry, I can't consider you an elite of the elite 10-ball players. Listen, if you're playing Jeff DeLuna and you're playing Alex Pagulayan, go and play Chang, and then we'll see how you do. Go and play some great. Go and play some great players in some 10-ball, and then we can go and see. And I'm not knocking Federer because I love Federer a lot, but I mean there's a big difference as far as who they're going and playing.
Maybe there is
big difference.
They're also playing in the same tournaments.
Not right now, they're not, Jim.
You want them to gamble. You want them to gamble.
No, I'm not saying that. Like, I mean, it's all hypothetical, Jim. You know, but I'm just.
You want them to gamble and go to 150.
No, I mean,
and to be clear, I do want to see that.
You think that?
I would love to see it too.
I'll see it. I'm okay with that.
Okay, but what you're saying is that that dictates who the best player is. But you have two different kinds of players. You have players that are tournament players, and you have players who are these long set players.
Federer can gamble. I mean,
of course he can gamble.
The kid made the gamble.
What is a better player? Let's say they play a race to 9 and Federer wins 9-2, and they play a race to 150. And Shane wins 150 to 100.
Oh man, that's not what I'm talking about though, man. Shane's been playing Dennis how many times in the last couple of years? Shane's been playing Chang the last couple of years. In other words, there's a big difference in competition, Jim, versus playing Dennis and Chang against Jeff DeLuna and Alex Pagulayan in rotation.
Okay, here's my question then. Here's my question. Why is Shane not playing Federer?
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
That's a Q-Tech thing. They won't play. They won't play.
Yeah.
You know, we
never know then.
I played some.
I don't see Federer going and knocking on Dennis's door,
4
or
years,
Chang's door.
And
we're going to let the fans decide. We created a poll on who's that. We're going to let the fans decide.
We got Tim here says, "What about Mosconi and stuff?" And so, but you know what I see the difference is in all the pocket pool tournaments is that there is an elimination, so that a lot of these players they play the whole tournament and don't get to even face each other. There's a limited amount of players that they face. When you go to a
different skill set, it's a different
mindset.
You have a final
massive difference
of so many guys, and they have to play each other. If there's 8 guys in the finals, they all play 7 matches, and they all play each other. And
that's why I love what Shane did, because Shane's road to go and get to play Alvin was ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alvin had to play Josh, but still.
And Shane was in between matches. He was taking every table that was free or practice table. Shane was on it.
Yeah,
he was basically had his cue in his hand for 16 hours a day.
Yeah,
he would finish his match. He'd be straight on the practice table. He'd be asking Emily Fraser, "Where's there a table free? Where can I play? Where can I play?" He spent the entire 5 days just playing pool and sleeping. That's all he did. And tournament play, it's a skill. Because you've got a lot of dead time, and you have to be able to use that productively. That you don't drain yourself, that you're not getting bored, that you're not looking for stuff to do. You have to get the rest when you get it. So it is also a skill to be able to be a proper tournament pro. Some are not very good at it. Some just get bored and they go and overexert themselves doing other stuff or whatever in their free time, and they're not mentally or physically fresh when they get on table.
Right. Jim's 100% right, because I've seen a lot of guys go and gamble for a lot of money during tournament time, and they're up till 4 or 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning.
Kills their tournament. Yeah,
kills it, and that I don't think they give two F's about it, because they're going after the big, the bigger payday, playing by the game or playing a big set or whatever. But you're right. That's what I mean. Like Albin gets up for titles. Albin gets up for hardware. Albin gets up for stuff like that, and it's
ranking points.
he's not any less of a player. You know, it's a different mindset.
Yep. These guys that want the ranking points and they want to get up there in that ranking, they're going to have to do it the right way, and they're going to have to look after themselves during these tournaments. And I mean, I personally think there's some that are not very good at that, or clearly are not very good at that. You know,
At what, Jimmy? What do you mean?
Well, they'll take their computers with them, their PlayStations with them, and they'll sit until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in their room playing PlayStation. Then they've got a game at 9 o'clock in the morning. That ain't going to get you very far in this tournament situation. You know, don't expect to be playing your best after 3 hours sleep just because you've been playing Doom or whatever the kids are playing nowadays. I don't know.
You're showing your age, buddy.
Call of Duty number 10 or whatever it is. I don't know.
Wow.
Grand Theft Auto 20. I don't know.
We got a nice comment here from Michael Snodgrass here says, it's an amazing Monday morning listening to the odd heads talk it out. I love this community, he says. So we got a nice shout out there from Mike.
Yeah, we're a strange group.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fun. It's all fun banter. I can't wait to see you, sweetheart. I'm looking forward to this December, Jimmy. I promise you that.
I mean, when I get to Vegas, I like to give everybody a cuddle, but you're going to get the biggest one.
I know. You don't even got to tell me. I already know. I mean, I love having these debates, and I mean, there's a lot of players who are playing great right now. You know, I love seeing. You know, Shane was great, but Mika almost took down Shane. Darren gave Josh all he can go and handle. I mean, there was just a ton of storylines taken last week.
I think a shout out to Mika and Darren. A shout out for Mika and Darren for holding up the old guys end of it. How strong was Mika for that up to 10-3? Yeah. Some of the balls he was playing, and Darren, the way Darren was playing. It's just Filler just seems to have his number just by a millimeter. Filler just seems to get there against him.
I said it, and I was thinking about you when I said it, Jimmy. I said Darren's gonna give Josh problems, and I said, and so is Mika. Mika's gonna give Shane some problems. It wasn't gonna be a runaway train. So you would have been proud of me, my man.
I'm always proud of you, buddy, and I'm proud of Mika and Darren the way they played up.
How phenomenal is it? I probably even enjoyed. They're almost 50 years old and they're still playing like that. But it's kind of bittersweet when you think about it, because you don't know how many more opportunities you're going to go and get to be in that position, because things got to work out pretty perfectly in order for you to even get a swing.
Well, I tell you now, watch out for Darren Appleton. I have a sneaky feeling. That Mr. Appleton is going to snap something off pretty quickly, pretty soon.
Yeah,
he's going to go real deep. He's right. He's right on the edge. Right on the edge of going real deep.
Well, I've got a question about the pockets. So the pockets, we know that for those that didn't hear, they normally have them 4 inches. There were some delays with getting things set up, so they weren't able to have the tightest pockets. That clearly made the roll of the break much larger in this event than it would be. Now, there's kind of a two-parter. I'd say that the comeback, everyone understands that comeback that Shane made against Mika woke up the sleeping bear and kind of started making him feel like, hey, I remember how to play good pool, and maybe things are going my way. Maybe this is my time. Also, the pockets, to make a comeback from 10-3 down, I don't care who you are, is so tough that bigger pockets make that type of comeback less impossible. And then meanwhile, what he did to Alvin, which we agree that what he had to do is keep Alvin completely in his chair, those bigger pockets may have played a role. So my question is to all you guys is, would Shane have been able to achieve what he did with the comeback with Mika, the finals with Alvin on 4-inch holes, or would that maybe have played things? And then was it kind of like lucky that things worked out the way it came together for him? Or do you think that Shane was just waiting for something to spark that fire again? And if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. I mean, it's just weird how it played out. I don't know.
Shane got to a final of the World Pool Masters on 4-inch pockets last year.
3 and 7. It goes both ways.
He didn't come back from 10-3 down.
But the other question is he 10-3 down if they're playing 4-inch pockets?
No, fair enough. That's why I'm asking.
He's probably not 10-3 down in 4-inch pockets. There's probably a couple of those breaks from Mika that rattle.
I just know that when he plays Alvin in the finals, if they get into like a 1 or 2 rack at a time, moving around, fighting for tough shots, fighting for tough opportunities, it's going to be really hard. You know, he's not going to win the way he won. Would he still be able to win? I guess that's what I'm asking. Do you think that helped him, or do you think it was just kind of like,
Shane's the biggest advocator of winter break. So I saw him play good last year on 4-inch pocket. So for me, I still think he would have had a shot, you know. But I'm with Jim kind of in the sense that would Mika have been in that position on 4-inch pockets? I don't think so either. No. You know what I did see? I saw a lot of balls get hit into that rail early up and still went in. I mean, a lot of balls. And it wasn't just in that match.
They did play bigger than what I expected. A diamond, a diamond
generous.
4.25. I don't expect them to play that big.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think after thinking about it, and you know, Laura made a comment. It's Shane's time. End of story. You know, it's okay. You know, but it's like things play out very, very strange. Where when you look at what happens, you know, winning these events takes, you know, sometimes it takes a roll, sometimes it takes, you know, the right draw, sometimes it takes a comeback to get you woken up, whatever. And so what's interesting is when you try to look at like the parts of it and try to like figure out where there was some magic going on yesterday and over the week. And when you try to figure out like where did that magic come from or what was the formula, I just don't think you can actually break it down scientifically and say this caused this or this did that. You know, I just
appreciate it.
It was a magic time, and who's going to understand exactly how
Look
that
how
happened.
poetic that is, man. To go and beat Alex, to beat Chang, to beat Ko, and then to beat Alvin. Like everything had to come together for Shane to get redemption on all those guys, and not even mentioning the comeback from Mika. You know, it was a perfect storm that made it like very, very poetic and very special from the beginning to the end. And you don't realize it in the moment until it goes and just comes together. And Shane's got this Jason Shaw look in his eyes, you know.
And to be honest, when you looked at the semi-finalists, he was the one, if you look at the players he had to beat to win a world title, that was a list of players that you should have to beat to win a world title.
Really?
You're not going to say it was soft for him, right, Jim?
I'm saying is that for the other three, you could have questioned whether or not it was really a world-class field that they had fought their way through. Not taking anything away from the players that were beat on the way, but they were not the same as a Cole. You know, and
what we remember Ko to be, we don't know that Ko is still at the same level he was 5 years ago when we saw him.
He took Shaw out.
It took Jason out.
If you take Jason out, you're playing well. You know, simple as that. And he's still cool. He's still got that. He's still in.
Yo, that last rack
was
brutal though. That last rack was sickening at Hill with Jason because he popped that ball right in the middle.
Don't forget, Shane's playing pretty much every round against players that are living in his head from recent things that have happened. You know, Kazakis is in his head from the Masters. You know, Ko's in his head from a World Championship final. Alvin's in his head from a World Championship finals. Mika's in his head from several things and 10-3 ahead.
See, the world's turning on his head, and Jimmy's making so many good points.
Every single round he's played, he's fought a mental battle, and he's fought demons.
The only one he missed was Josh.
Yeah,
maybe Josh was it. And maybe Josh is in his head. Maybe Josh is in his head more than any other player in the world right now. So maybe it's lucky for him that he didn't have to play him.
He said as much. He's given Josh that credit already.
I just wanted to respond to a comment. I never said Shane had an easy draw. I was talking about how a lot of things sometimes have to come together, and I was just giving examples of things that at times have helped people get places. I wasn't saying he had an easy draw. Yeah. I also wanted to respond to Nate Tam. Nate, I owe you a response on a cool video. Anybody's interested, check out Nate Tam. He has a YouTube channel and talks a little bit about getting in the zone. You said the difference in his last 3 matches was because he made the decision to have fun. The only thing I'd say to that is that of course he said that, and he was talking about trying to just play his game and have fun and but there's a big difference between deciding that that's the right strategy versus being able to actually transcend all the things that we're talking about in the heat of battle. So I'm sure that, I'm not saying you're saying it's easy to do. I just think about it like, I could decide. I'll put it this way. I've decided to have fun when I play, and I don't have a world title. So somehow that there's maybe a little bit more to that.
Yeah, there is a true line, a distinctive line between pure concentration and enjoyment in the game. If you're not enjoying the game, all the rest that goes with it to get you out of racks, to make you perform at the highest level you can, is harder. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And there was a comment here that you saw a little bit of that in Shane in this last tournament. You saw him having a little bit of fun.
There were times when I talked to Shane over the last few days when, you know, he would say, I got to play loose. I got to just have fun. I got to enjoy it. But he looked like it. That was the crazy part about it, is that he's saying, like, I need to get in this mindset, and I'm not there yet. But when I'm watching him go and play, I watched him be very fluid. And I thought that was something that I took specific note of as I'm watching him go and run rack after rack after rack. Now it helps when you're getting shape on that one ball to feel a little bit more comfortable, right? And you got that massive break to go and fall back on. But I was real surprised hearing him go and say that personally.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the last half of that match with Alvin, because I don't think either one of those players were getting easy, you know, runouts after the break. It wasn't until like something like 8-6 that I thought Shane finally goes and has a decent break, you know, but even then he had to go and work in order to go and get out. But it really took me back hearing him go and say that specifically, because he did not look like the first 5-6 racks of the final. He was pushing it. You know, he's forcing the shot. He wants to get out. I have to get out. You know, that one ball that he overcut to go and let Alvin in, like I talked about earlier, it's like he's trying to get that ball down. It wasn't just coming to him like it was in other parts of that match.
But that's natural, I think, even for somebody like Shane, especially in a world final.
Right, Jim. But like, you know, when you see like Jason or Josh, I mean, they don't have that same facial expressions. They don't have the same tightness, you know. They'll miss a ball and it'll go around 4 rails. Shane will just miss it and it'll be like, you kind of expect Jason and Joshua to do something reckless. You don't expect Shane to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
When you see it from them, you think that's just their game. You know, Shane's fighting these mental battles, and he's in there, and it's got to be tough for him. He's got so many demons. If it's any other tournament, he doesn't care. He goes out there and says,
"It didn't look like he was worried about demons in the last couple of days. Looked like he was just playing 9-ball."
Well, I'll tell you, I think
up to a point, yes, but
because when I watch Jason and Joshua, when I watch those two play, and it's the way that oftentimes when I've watched Shane, like in gambling matches or tournaments when he was at his peak, when you'd see him at the table with a shot like the one ball, you know, where he's cutting into the side from off the rail, you wouldn't even sweat stuff like that. You'd just be like, I could just, you know, well, he's got a shot the one, the balls are open. I'll serve my the next rack. You wouldn't even have to worry about it. Whereas yesterday you had to worry about it. However, Jim, you're also absolutely right on, which is that when you watch Shaw and Filler, you don't really have to worry about those balls going in until they don't. And then to your point, then you just forget about the ones that don't go in because they don't make such a show out of it, or they're so loose and fast that like you just treat it as a one-off, even though it's the same thing as what Shane missed. Yeah.
See, that's why, like, I think it was even more remarkable how compelling the whole tournament was, because, I mean, I know we all wanted to see 4-inch pockets, but it didn't make it any less exciting for me.
No,
because I think
it would be wrong of us not to mention what a fantastic tournament it was. What a job Matchroom did. They've raised the bar again. There's only one thing they did wrong, and that was let Lechner and Abdul start their semi-final on table 2. Other than that, what a show! I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, great show.
I thought
that digital pool website was brutal at times, but
yeah, it was.
Sorry? I don't like the digital. Yeah,
it was brutal, dude.
Emily, Matchroom, just use Q-Score. It's been proven to be the
best. I'm so against you there. No, I think digital pool is a much better website than that. The problem is it wasn't ready to handle the amount of traffic it was getting. That's a simple little.
Wait until it is. And we gamble on a lot of matches. Like I gamble on a lot of damn matches, and it's so tough to go and fade when you can't even get on the damn website.
The owners of digital pool are like some of the smartest guys in this industry. They'll get it right. You don't got to worry about them. This is a much better website, way more user friendly. Use digital pool. It is awesome. It is an amazing website. All they need to do is just get it ready for more traffic in the future. I mean, this happens every single year. It happens with the whatever the Q-Score that they used before too. Q-Score, it's not like Q-Score was good when these events happen. They always crash too, and they never work. So it's like I don't know. I hate Q score. I think it's terrible.
Well, it's not up to us. Let's just say that the digi pool, the digi pool, whatever
Digital
it was,
pool.
the digital pool, it needs upgrading in order to handle the amount of traffic, whatever it is. It's not there yet, and so that needs to be worked on. And if the 9 keeps floating to the corner pocket, then don't put another match on afterwards.
Honestly, I think that's the reason Oliver lost that match. He's up 10-7, and Alex had 2 short racks out of 3 short racks. I mean,
he won 2 racks playing 3 shots.
Yeah, that's not good. So I guess the only other thing that I would say that I really wasn't a fan of was you gotta train your refs to work with those templates a little bit better too. I think the whole like marking of, I don't care if a ball's on the magic rack. Like you can sacrifice one of those magic racks. You have probably 300 minimum of those things. Cut it exactly. Yeah. Cut it. Do what you need to do to make sure that the state of play is the exact same before and after that template is removed, and it's not that big of a deal if you cut one up and rip it apart to make it so it works. Who cares? Make sure that the integrity of the game is not altered, because at the end of the day, you can see that there was a difference between that one ball, that window at that one ball. It's different. It's not much, but it might not have had to be much to be able to make that one ball available.
Match? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I saw pictures of it posted, but there was nothing that was clear to me to say that Shane didn't have a shot on it before and did have a shot after. I didn't really see anything convincing to show me that was the case.
Oliver getting robbed was a lot more egregious than that.
I agree.
That 9 ball.
Yeah, and I think Oliver wins the tournament from there, and I look like a genius, and Jim sucks.
No, I'm always going to look like a genius, and you're always going to suck.
All I'm saying is Jimbo picks a 4.
That would have been a great matchup too.
All I'm saying is Jimbo decides to pick the 4 best players. I pick underdogs, and I would have had back-to-back world titles with my picks.
Listen, if somebody says to you, who do you think is going to win the tournament? You pick the 4 players you think are going to win the tournament.
I only have 3. I only have 3 players on my radar. It's Oliver Solnacki, it's Wojtek Szewczak, and it's Aloysius Yap. Those are my 3 players that I think are going to be different. And I who else do I? Jimbo's the one that has 6,000 players. Why are you putting this on me?
6,000.
It's true. Everybody with the tournament is on Team Jim every week. Every week there's a new addition to the team.
I picked 3 players, and you're saying I got.
I was only, you forced 4 on me, and those 4.
I forced 4 on you.
You said I couldn't have Federer, I couldn't have them. I can only have those 4. Okay, I'll take those 4, and I'm still winning. There you go.
Well, at best, we're 50-50. I mean, I did have Wojtek, so.
Yes, we're talking about 9-ball rankings.
I got some.
Have you got something stuck there? Maybe I can help you with that.
I got some right here on my eyebrow.
I'll come over and give you a little help. I'll knock it off for you.
Okay, so before we move on from this, I do want to.
Hey, but Oliver had a great tournament too.
Again,
Oliver played
great. And to be honest, Omar didn't do too bad either.
I was surprised at Omar.
He looked dead a couple of times, and he came back real strong a couple of matches.
Yeah.
So I guess let's give a shout out to everybody else. Another story I think we could potentially spend a little. Did my headset just go out? This is annoying. Someone take it over for a second.
I want to just respond to real quick. Monk in the comments just mentioned that the man just won a world title. People are still going to criticize it. I was trying to understand where this comment came from. I think it was probably because we were talking about how he missed the 1 ball. And so maybe there's an impression that we're like sitting around like, well, he didn't do this, or he was kind of, he wasn't really playing. I guess I don't understand. We just spent an hour talking about whether he's the.
We just basically spent an hour worshiping him
of all time. I don't understand.
even me, even the European was saying how great it is.
So if anybody in the audience has any doubts about where we stand, we've been spending an hour talking about whether or not he's the greatest of his generation or the greatest of all time, and talking about the magic that we just witnessed.
I don't even want to spend any more time on it than that. That's
exactly. Most players
that's just a troll.
Most players have to pay us to say nice things about him. He's getting it for free.
That's just a troll comment. So I guess obviously at this point we know that Shane won. Alvin gets 2nd place. 4th goes to Alex Kazakis and Abdullah Olyosef.
Nice showing for Alex.
But how strong is he playing,
cool is it?
Abdullah?
Abdullah, how cool is that?
He got top 3 at Turning Stone.
Did you see that match against Max? Did you see that?
That was bad. That was bad.
That was bad from Max. Max full.
And he also, by the way, he
bad for
also
both
had
of them.
Jason Shaw 8-3 at Turning Stone. And Jason ran out the set from like 8-4, 8-5, or something like that.
He had a good show, and he was third, I think, at Turning Stone.
So I'd say I've watched him play a few sets, and I was going to say, people are talking. We've spent a lot of time talking about Poland, right? What about Kuwait? I mean, we got to say they haven't maybe done some of the major. They haven't broken through yet, but like, are they the next Poland? With Omar, with I can't. I played a guy at Turning Stone this year too, the Bader. But like, there's like 4 of them that are traveling full time, playing and striking really, really well and doing better and better. So is Kuwait the next Poland?
Don't know if they're the next Poland, but they're a strong World Cup of Pool partnership, the two of them.
Yeah,
let's hold off on that.
That's a good outside bet for the World Cup of Pool.
Don't ask Nate that.
Yeah, Poland's got 20 players. Poland's got 20 players that you
and each one of them has been Nate's favorite player over the last year.
I just think when people are talking about like, hey, no problem, Monk, we're all good. But when people were talking about like, what are they doing in Poland or what are they doing here? I think it's actually an interesting question to ask what they're doing at Kuwait, because they're definitely doing something.
Yep, they've got some players coming through. I mean, the guy can play. He's all out attack. I'll be honest with you. Watching him play, he is all out attack. It is all or nothing. I mean, he doesn't have much of a plan B.
You know what happens though?
He's very good. He is very good at his all out attack.
I'll tell you. So somebody was talking
How
about.
far did they get Mika?
Somebody was talking about all-out offense, and my comment about that is, it seems like it works out the same for most players. Is that they get to the top because of a couple things. They have an extreme amount of offense. They have, they pocket, they strike unbelievably. They run out from everywhere. They shoot really, really straight. So they got the firepower. They've got a good break, and they've got a ton of determination and drive. And so you get somebody out there that can break the balls open, generate opportunities, and run out, and they want it really, really, really bad. That's how they get to the top. And then once they're at the top and they play at the international level over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, their moving game comes together and their kicking game comes together and all these other things. It's not like they can't duck, but it's like it gets better and better and better. And so we saw that with Jason Shaw when he came on the scene. His moving game and his patterns were pretty loose. When I saw Shane come on the scene, whenever he gambled with Alex won like 70% of the games where they both shot, but Shane just had, the firepower, the heart, and the break. And same thing with Filler, when he came on the scene, he was a little bit loose in the moving department, but he just had the desire and the shot making. So I think that this follows the formula. These guys from Kuwait, we've only really been seeing them at the international stage for a few years now. I think that this is where they're bringing their firepower and their heart. And then what will happen is as they keep playing over 2, 3, 4, 5 more years, I think that's where you start seeing some big breakthroughs.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Danny.
I'm also not going to lie to you, Demetrius. I've had about 6 people reach out to me and say, when Abdullah was on the podcast or was on the stream, he's like, I've had like 4 people reach out to me and says, when did Demetrius grow out his beard?
He does look like you, but with a longer beard.
Hey, man, I'd be happy to be mistaken for him or many other people.
No, that was the only comparison, just the beard.
Jeez. God, the love around here.
Going back to that is what pool has become at elite level. Certainly rotation, 9-ball and 10-ball. It's about the moments where you create that first opportunity in the rack, because there's so many players now that will run a rack. So many of the racks are just standard. You run them out. Even players of mine or Demetrius' level, we're going to run out most racks. Can you create that first opportunity and be the guy that gets that open shot on the one? And you saw that a little bit in the match against Alvin. Once he got to the semi-final, he was unable to create that opportunity. When Alvin maybe didn't get his break and had to play a push or a safe on the one, Abdullah was unable to create that first opportunity and play that one kick safe that would get him into the rack. Whereas Alvin's very, very good at that. You said he'll create something out of nothing, and the top guys do that. And that's kind of the difference between the real elite tournament winners and the guys that will make a good run, but at the end of it, they just don't quite have enough in those matches against the top guys. And that's pretty much what happened to Abdullah. It's what happened to Oliver a little bit last year as well. He just didn't quite have the extra knowledge and match play to create the opportunities in 9-ball, which is what you need now, because running the table, there's hundreds of players that will run tables.
Yeah.
It's about being the guy that gets that first opportunity on the one.
It certainly is about knowledge to some degree.
I honestly just think it's awesome to see that he's in the semifinals of a world championship and has 0 patches on his chest.
No sponsors, no patches, nothing. Yeah.
And he's still finding a way to do it. So I don't want to hear another whisper out of any American players who say that they can't afford to go to these tournaments. This dude's like traveling from Middle East. You know that his plane ticket costs probably 5 times what somebody's plane ticket in the US would cost. And he's got no problem doing it. Why can't
we'll probably find out his father owns a palace somewhere in one of the oil-rich areas.
An oil field.
Yeah, exactly. The guy's absolutely minted. Yeah, you never know.
Maybe. But I mean, I don't know anything about it. But the point is unless he's got like some really rich people backing him, like I just don't see how you can't. I just can't see how you can complain about not being able to afford to go to a pool tournament.
He plays it. He plays the game the right way. He plays it the exciting way. I saw one of his interviews. He seemed very humble about the whole thing. He was just happy to be there, and just seemed like genuinely just a nice guy who just enjoys playing and is very, very good at what he does. And
seems like we need to get him on the podcast and chat with him.
In the final of a world championship, that's not nothing. Doesn't matter who you've played and how you've got there. You can say that Max folded, that they had to move tables, that he's 9-4. You're there. You're in that spot, and that's. And it's not the first time, like we said, Turning Stone's not an easy tournament. There's some big names there. He was knocking on the door of beating Jay. He almost got there, and third place. He's got game, that guy. And if he gets the right, if he starts to learn the nuances and the little bit of the technical side of it as well, who knows?
Right.
Could be a big player. Yeah, I think he's a lot younger than he looks as well, so he's got a few years still to go. But again, a little bit like Demetrius, a lot younger than he looks.
I'm trying to work out if that was a compliment. Thank you. All your support. Thank you.
You're getting picked on today, Debbie.
Hey, man, I just try to stay. I don't know. I think it's because Nate put me between Mike and Jim on the screen, and I'm just somehow that's playing a role of this.
It's possible.
You're holding everybody up. As usual, you're the strong guy here. You're holding everybody up.
What kind of shirt is that you have on today, Debbie?
Oh, I'm always rocking my pool boot camp shirt. MN Pool Boot Camp.
Oh, okay.
Come train. Good stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So I guess finishing out the list of players that or the event. I guess going through 5th through 8th, Oliver Solnacki, Chang Jung Lin, Max Lechner, Josh Filler, and then we'll do the final 16 as well. So 9 through 16, Torsten Holman, Darren Appleton, Aloysius Yap, Dimitri Jungo, Koping Yi, Nayuki Oi, Ronald Regley, and Omar Al-Shaheen. So it was it was a pretty stacked finals. It's not quite as good as a Euro Tour, but it's almost as good.
Wow.
Sorry, I had to drop that in there, Jim.
Well, to be honest, read those names again. It is basically a Euro Tour.
Okay.
I don't know. Chang Jung Lin.
A Euro Tour with a couple of Asians.
Aloysius Yap, Koping Yi, Nayuki Oi.
That's what I said, a Euro Tour with a couple of Asians thrown in.
Shane Van Boening.
And the Shane. But a Shane is always, even in the Euro Tour, Shane's in there if he does decide to play them. I want to make
every player's in there if they decide to play him, you clown.
As the one non-European here, I'd like to make a shout out to a couple of American players, Nick De Leon and Oscar Dominguez. Oscar Dominguez, how close did he come to
Shane?
Going
Shane
deep?
Wolford.
Yes.
Shane Wolford as well.
Yes.
But that was good to see. That was good to see a couple of new guys and Oscar, because I think we were pushing a little bit for Oscar from Moscone last year.
Sure.
The guy's still got game. He's still got game,
yeah.
and what was he? 10-1 behind or 8-1 behind, came back 10-8 ahead, and then,
who was his opponent? I didn't see that.
Alvin.
Very outstanding.
Or no, Alvin played Nick De Leon.
No, it wasn't against Alvin. It was against who did he come back against?
Come on, Mike. This is
Who?
your moment.
Oscar, when he came back from 8-1 to 10-8 and then lost.
He was down like 8.
Oh yeah.
He was down 8-2, goes up 10-8,
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes up 10-8, and then
How strong are you playing to run an 8-pack
Well, I'll
on
tell
the
you what, speaking of what Jim was saying, Oscar, for those that aren't familiar with his game, they know he plays good, maybe, but he's very good table management, with the moving game, kicking, safeties, game management, emotional management. He's got a ton of gambling experience. So it's like, there's players that have a Fargo rate because they can run balls, and then there's players that are really rounded and experienced. And Oscar, I think, I would love to see the U.S. develop a roster strong enough that Oscar doesn't make the list. But right now, I feel like he would be a very good addition to the team just based on that package. I think in Race to 5, handling, composure, game management, coming up with those shots is so adapting to conditions. I think a guy like that is a real strong asset.
And he's one of those guys who's got so much knowledge. He is a guy who can create that first opportunity. Like I just talked about, 9-ball is about having the knowledge and having the craft to get that first opportunity. He's that guy. He is one of those guys in the American pool. He's just such a good mover, and he doesn't really play that much, and he's still causing these guys so much problems. He just turns up there, and all of a sudden he's got New Kioi crapping in his pants. Probably one of the tournament favorites.
Well, I pretty much think Oscar's got a cue stick in his hand every day of the week for a while.
Yeah, strong. Yeah. And nice to see nice to see. We talked about Shane Walford as well, so nice to see him actually making a move, and Nick De Leon, as well.
We're going to hear more about Shane.
Really, it's been a good couple of weeks for how should we say the new names coming through in American pool, with Eric Roberts as well doing well at the Vegas the 10-ball.
Justin
coming through, and Justin as well. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I see a bright future for a few American players coming through.
I'll tell you, that's the one thought I had about that is, if you forgot, like if you took our player roster in the U.S., there's been a lot of to be fair, it's fair criticism, to say, hey, look at the Polish. If we had a Mosconi Cup team against Poland, or a 20-man team against Poland, blah blah blah. But if you forget that we were the U.S. and that that we were known for pool, or that we had the great players and dominated back in the 90s when it was still mostly just the U.S. with a touch of Philippines. If you just looked at the U.S. like it was a new country, like I don't know, country XYZ or something, we'd never heard of this country.
You'd be excited.
And they had the player list that we have. You'd be like, hey man, there's a pretty good country. You know what I mean? Like we've got, obviously Shane, we've got Sky, we've got Bergman, Oscar, we've got some Shane Wolford and Tyler Steyer that are, still, Tyler's trying to get to the top. Shane's making a real strong move. Wolford, that is. We've got some junior players that are playing some great pool that are coming up. You wouldn't dismiss country XYZ. So it's easy to come with this kind of American spirit that's like, oh, we're supposed to be number one, and anything less than that is horse, and horse crap, and and why can't we just? But it's like, really, yeah, it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay,
I'll take Europe in the Mosconi Cup.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just saying.
Anything you'll sell out. You'll sell out your own grandmother.
I bet them every year, Jim. What are you talking about? This isn't nothing new.
Even if
I bet them every year for the last 10 years. What are you talking about?
Even if it was 5 players from my standard, I'd still have my money on my home team.
Yeah, he'll order a coffee every day at Starbucks, and as soon as the Mosconi starts, it's going to be a cup of tea. I know it. That's all he knows.
Listen, Jimmy. When Team Asian comes knocking on the door, you got action, buddy. All right.
I won't. Not interested. There's only one team that matters, and that's team match that matters, and that's Europe against USA. Mosconi Cup is where it's at.
What a surprise! When there's actually a chance whenever there's a chance you might lose, you start backpedaling. What a shocker!
Wow, crazy! I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait till December. It's gonna be so good. Oh, wow! We're doing some live videos, Mike.
Here's a comment by Laura. We know Tyler is very talented. Why do you think he seems to be struggling so much?
Well, that's not something we can tackle today. We need to get moving on, because I still want to talk about somebody who, and let's try to keep politics off of our,
for that right away.
Comments. Well, we can discuss it in the coming weeks. Well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
America.
What I will say is, let's move on to Alvin, because we haven't hardly talked about Alvin at all yet. And I think that Alvin is one of the fiercest competitors maybe that you're going to come up with, certainly over the last 3 to 5 years. And, he's kind of known for his, he's getting better, but he's kind of known for his fiery attitude and his kind of, he gets mad at the table, right? I mean, we can all just agree that he just gets really mad at the table. And I think that it deserves some highlighting to actually say the first thing he does is he goes up and shakes his hand. And I think a lot of competitors at that point in time would pack their stuff up and they would leave. And Alvin stayed there to properly, I guess, celebrate Shane's win. And I think that needs to be highlighted. I think that Alvin did exactly what he should have done in the moment to really give Shane his props. And I think
they
given
have
the
to, though. I mean, like, he was a class, but I think they're supposed to anyway because of all the pictures and the medals and all that.
Well, you're supposed.
Like, don't get me wrong, it was still classy, but
I think you're right. It's supposed to. It's just hard to actually do. I think what made it easier for Alvin was that he didn't do anything wrong. Like, he legit didn't miss a ball unless you want to count exactly a second jump shot in a row. He never, and even that hit the back of the pocket on his way off the table. But Alvin played almost perfect. And then, so first of all, he can't really feel bad about his performance. Secondly, he had a lot of time to get ready for that concession. So it's not like he had Shane 12-11 and then something weird happened and all of a sudden he just lost at that moment. Like, he kind of had about an hour to kind of prepare his handshake there. And it was pretty clear what was happening. And yeah, he was
handshake.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of ready to, like, he was ready to shake his hand, so. But yeah, it was very cool to see, and it's great that as fiery as Alvin is, that he still could, give some. Even though in the interview, it's very funny. He's like, of course he had to get some rolls, but that happens on the way to a final. So
you heard that too, right?
I kind of kept track of the rolls. I don't think Shane got all the rolls in that set, but okay, anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think.
I heard from someone there that after the event was over with, all the Europeans went and personally congratulated Shane
awesome.
at the after party, and they were all very sincere and very genuine, and he got a standing ovation and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, sure.
When all the cameras were off.
I tell you,
they paid him a lot of respect from what I heard.
Very respectful.
Yeah. I tell you this, I think from the 128 players there, if you asked 127 of them, other than Shane, so the other 127, you say, if you're not going to win it, who do you want to win it? I'd be very surprised if there's less than 100 of them that say Shane.
Right.
It's probably true.
I think they're all there thinking, I want to win this, but if I don't,
well,
I'll say this.
Every competitor that gets to the top.
Observation, Jim.
Every competitor that gets to the top has put in so much work and dedication and done so much. And so somebody that puts in that kind of effort can recognize and appreciate what other people do. And everybody knows what Shane has put into the game, and everybody knows what Shane has done with the game. And so everybody can identify with that in a certain way and say, there's no such thing as fair in pool and life and 9-ball, but it's like, it's only fair to get what you deserve for that kind of effort over your career. And I think every competitor can recognize what Shane has done in his life, and everybody can feel that he was due.
I've got God knows how my Facebook, the amount of Facebook friends I have within the pool world, players and all that kind of thing. We're talking, I must be getting close to about 4,000 or something like that. I've never had my Facebook blow up with notifications from one player to Shane Van Boening, like a Darren Appleton, especially to Shane, a Kachi to Shane, a Federer to Shane, all of them on a tournament win, congratulating him on becoming world champion. I've never seen that before.
Sure.
That just the personal messages, not just, oh, blah, 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 I was second or whatever. Shane Van Boening, Shane, congratulations, great, brilliant, fantastic. You deserve it. It's about time. Well done. Monkey off your back. We all knew you could do it. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody.
Okay, Jim, you're going a little long.
No, he is. I'll just say it's a profound moment. It's really
it's a massive moment in pool. Don't underestimate it.
Oh,
when you said 100 people, like if you could pick anybody in the field, the 127, and you basically said, like, if you can't win this, who do you want to win this? If you remove like people's road dogs and people's best friends, so like Alex Kazakis can't vote for Dennis Graba, or Badar can't, they can't. I bet you get above 125. If you remove your best friends and your road dog,
Yeah,
yourself.
well, that's what I'm saying. Everybody wants Shane to win a title.
Everyone,
Nobody begrudges him that title. They all are glad that he won it. I didn't win it, so I'm glad Shane won it. If you asked 126 players, who do you want to win this? Alvin or Jason? Alvin or Shane? Max and Mario might be the only two that vote for Alvin. And it's nothing against Alvin. It's just because it was Shane.
Yeah,
they
that's
all
what I'm saying.
wanted it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you remove your best buddy, like the Max, yeah. So, but I think, I mean, I think we're all in agreement. Awesome for Shane. We're all ecstatic, and what I would like to see. I mean, we're gonna bring on Shane. I think tomorrow is when we're gonna have him on the podcast here to talk with him. We need to nail out a time yet because he's still on his way back, but we're gonna have him on in the next coming days. I'm going to ask him, is there another title that you think that you need to have to cement your legacy? I mean, I don't think that anybody can question whether or not, his legacy is set at this point, but is there one title left that he thinks that he needs to get to, I guess, be the best of all time? I would assume the World 10 maybe, but
this is actually a question I wanted to ask you guys.
I was just going to say the only title that I think that he doesn't really have it, that he hasn't won and doesn't really have a good chance to win at this point are all the 580 Fargo rated under tournaments that they're having in Minneapolis. I just don't see him get there, man. I don't see him getting there. He could try to dump and dump and dump. I just don't see him dropping his Fargo rate enough to qualify. And so I don't know if he'll ever really be in the mix when we talk.
I don't know. I actually heard that
126 balls on 4-inch pockets in a diamond.
Well, that's not going to happen ever. But Demetrius, I actually heard that Shannon Toning is going to be in the area, and he's just started playing pool, and he's going to be trying his hand at a couple of those events. So maybe
I won't even play anybody whose name rhymes with Shane's. That's how bad that guy scares me.
But I want to ask you guys. I mean, we know that Shane spends a lot of time fishing, and it doesn't seem like he puts a huge amount of work in anymore. When a big match is coming up or whatever, then he'll occasionally, maybe he's playing more than he lets on. I don't know. There have been certain rumors about how long he will continue to play. Is there a danger now that he's got this world title that we might not actually see Shane Van Boening playing pool for much longer? Do you think that's a danger?
I think this is going to be the start of a second wind.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah,
I think Shane has been in a slumber for 5 or 6 years. He's been in a kind of a hibernation. He's been very, very, very frustrated that he hasn't been able to bring his real heart and A game and desire. I think that he's been fishing and almost as a kind of I'll show up, I'll do my best, I'll fight, I'll win when I win, I'll snap off some turning stones, I'll get mine, whatever. It's not my, this isn't the old Shane, but I'll just do my best. And I know it's, whatever. But now I feel I heard that there was a lot of interviews with Shane just in the last couple of days, just 5-minute interviews. Somebody had said that I don't know firsthand, but somebody said that he made the comment that he forgot what you had to do to win one of these things. And that, something about I would say it this way. When you're playing pool, it's a challenge and you don't know if you could get it done. And it's so hard. It's more than you could do. And you have to rise to the occasion. And there's a challenge in rising to the occasion that's really meaningful and exciting. And Shane did that for years. And then it got to the spot where he didn't have to rise to the occasion. He would just show up and punch a clock and win. And he kind of got where he was autopilot mode. And then all of a sudden, the people in the game, the Europeans and all the game elevated and the international game elevated, all of a sudden his autopilot game wasn't good enough. And it was almost like he forgot how to dig deep and fight again. And now that he's oh, shoot. And so then people are kind of beating up on him. And he's just like Popeye without his spinach. He's like, man, how come everyone's being so mean? And I don't know, man. So I feel like his whole fishing thing was almost like medication. He was just kind of hey, man, I got to find some other joy because I can't seem to do it with pool right now. I really feel now that he's had this reassertion in his game or whatever, he's oh, I still have it. And that's how you do it. And you know what? I still like doing that. Let's do that. So I really think this is going to be the beginning of a good wave.
Have any of you guys ever pulled an 8-pound lake trout out of a little hole in the ice?
I'm going to bet Mike hasn't.
I have done it, and there is nothing more exciting ever.
But okay,
I think-
here's
Have
my
you
next
ever won a
question.
major? Rob, sorry, when you're comparing this to everything, have you won a world championship?
No, but let's then assume that this is a kick on for him and this is a motivation for him to keep going. And it goes the way you say that this is going to be something that's going to kick him on. Is there a chance that we have not yet seen the best Shane Van Boening?
I think so.
What if he has?
Because how scary a thought is that if we have not yet seen the best Shane Van Boening?
You see that? That's a great point. Like, what if he had all the firepower and hunger of when he was, in his mid-20s, and then you've got the tournament experience, the moving, and the match play experience that he has later in life. We might have a hell of a 10 years.
It's possible. I will say this: I think he was closer to retirement if he lost that than if he won it.
That's fair.
I mean, how does it gotta feel to him? He's wanted this probably for 20 plus years, and he finally got back to another finals. When he's potentially, his timing is starting to dwindle down. He's there's no way that he hasn't thought, well, is this ever going to happen for me?
Yeah.
Again, but it depends when. If he loses that match to Mika, it doesn't cause as much pain as if he loses that final to Alvin.
That's why I'm saying he's close.
It depends when you lose.
Have you guys ever had the feeling of what it's like to be a defending champion and coming back and defend your title? What that does to your psyche and your motivation?
I have, but it's never been a world title.
Right. Yeah, no, but still, that really doesn't matter. It's all on different levels anyways. But
Shane's dangerous. Shane is dangerous when one of two things can happen. Either if Shane's got a chip on his shoulder or if Shane's free stroking. Those are the two spots where he's as dangerous as ever. And Shane got that monkey off his back. I expect him to be a lot more loose and free. And I think we've seen it with a bunch of players. Look at Kazakis. Once you start 1-1 and you get that monkey off your back, the floodgates can go open. And I would not be surprised if Shane goes on a tear.
Yeah.
Watch out the rest of the world, because okay,
I'm going to ask everybody
if he's only going to go one way from here. Jesus, the rest of you better get on your bikes and start practicing, because if you're gonna try and hang on to his coattails,
it'll be fun to see how he does against like Filler and Fedor in the next tournaments, especially Filler, and who's kind of it'll be fun
Filler's
to see
the test for him. Yeah,
it'll be fun to see those matchups over the next couple of years now.
Yeah, Filler is
hopefully they do get those matchups.
So we're gonna close I'm gonna ask one more question. We'll close out the conversation with this. What means more to Shane's legacy from here? A World 10-ball championship or his 6th U.S. Open? Which would do more to cement his legacy? Mike, what do you think?
I'm going with Pinozo. It's the 6th U.S. Open. He's chasing the ghost. He wants to have one above Earl.
Yep.
1,000%. That's what I think it is.
I'm with that also.
Like he's already a great 10-ball player. He wants to go and say he's got one up on that.
Nobody else has done.
Yep.
Yeah, and I 100% agreed. And I think that, winning another title is another title, a 6th U.S. Open. I mean, 5 is already absurd. 6, it's like exponentially absurd, the number of U.S. Opens he's won, especially given the nature of the fields in his career, especially over the last few years. So, yeah, I think I also think that he's going to be really hungry to defend his world champion. I think he's going to want another world championship, and it'll be a hell of a storyline next year when he enters again. To see what if he back-to-backed it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Jim, what do you think?
Yeah,
U.S. Open without a doubt. I think the only reason, I mean, the U.S. Open is his number one. That is his
after he got the 9-ball or the World Championship.
No, U.S. Open. Put it this way: if he had 5 world titles, 5 world 9-ball titles, and no U.S. Open titles, and then he won his first U.S. Open, he would be on his knees in tears. You would not get an interview from him. That's how much the U.S. Open. It's not level for him. The U.S. Open is his number one, but he's won it so many times that
because when he started playing, listen, all throughout the 90s and 2000s, like to me, the U.S. Open was always the major, and it was the major. So it's almost like a bait and switch. Like Shane set out when he was upcoming in 2000, 2001, 2002 playing pool. The U.S. Open was considered. It wasn't the World Championship, but that was the major that everybody wanted. That was the most prestigious, most competitive, most sought after event in the world. And Shane went after it with all of his life, won it 5 times, and then somewhere along the lines, the World Championship was like kind of like something in Qatar that people played, and I don't know, Daryl Peach and Thorsten won, I guess, but it's like the U.S. Open. But then all of a sudden, somewhere along the lines, it's like, well, how many World Championships do you have? How many World Championships? And he's like, it's almost like the goalpost got moved on him, and he's like, damn it, now I got to go get one of them. But
that's
yeah,
the U.S. Open. It's his home major. You know, that is the main one for him. That's the one that's given him the legacy that he has. You know. And if he can get that one more, that number 6, and be on the all-time list, can you see anybody else getting 6? I find it very difficult to believe that anyone's going to dominate like that and get 6 in the future. So he's only one away from probably having the all-time record for the rest of pool eternity.
I'm trying to imagine a situation where anybody gets past 3 at this point, and I'm struggling to come up with it.
But okay, 6 is a long way. A long way.
What I'm saying is, who can get to 3 at this point? Yeah, that's what I
what kind of
Appleton can get to 3.
6.
Appleton can get to 3. He's playing
well.
I'm
talking about the next generation. I'm talking about the next generation of players. Of course, players that already have 2 could. Do we think Josh is going to get to 3?
Federer could get. Josh could get 3. Yeah, why not? But they're not going to get 6.
I mean, if you gave me the rest of Josh's career and I could take the over or under on, let's say, 3, I don't know that I take the over on U.S. Open. I might have to take the under.
You know, I'm not saying what you'd bet on. Can they do it? Is he good enough? Yes, he's good enough.
Yes.
Well, no crap. But is he actually going to do it? Right? If hypothetically, Fedor could win 50 of them, but that's silly to think about, right? I mean,
but he's not good enough to win 50 of them.
And Josh isn't good enough to win 90 of them, but theoretically he could, right?
No, but he's good enough to win 3, and that was your question.
Josh is good enough to win 3 in the same year.
3 U.S. Opens in 1 year. There you go. That's how good Filler is. He can win 3 of them in 2 years.
I love it.
Yeah. I guess we're talking about how if people are good enough to do things, and sure, but I'm trying to actually work in the situation of will they do it, and I don't think they will.
Yeah, okay. But you also
Omar Al-Shaheen is good enough to win 3 too, but you're not going to predict that, are you?
No, he's not good enough to win 3.
Oh, you don't think so?
No,
because he's not one of your 4 players, right? He's not one of your 4, but all of your 4 players could win 3.
What about Judd Trump?
On that note,
no, he's not good enough to win any. He won't win. He won't win anything. I'll play my set. I'll play my set to 150.
Yeah. I'd like to see that.
So would I. It'll be fun. But yes, I think it's a unanimous U.S. Open. I don't think he cares about a 10 ball. He'd like to have a 10 ball
3 glasses of wine though during the run.
Good. I'll have one every ball he makes. I'll have one.
Every 50 balls.
Okay. Well, Laura Berg, yes, Jason Shaw does have a U.S. Open title. And I guess with that, we can close out for the week, unless anybody else has anything else they want to say.
Awesome. It was just beyond words, awesome. I just want to say thanks to the universe for allowing me to play pool and watch pool during this time that happened. That was as a pool fan my whole life, witnessing something that's that meaningful, and that you just don't know when those moments are going to come in your life where you're like, man, I'm glad I got to see that. But that was it, man. So congratulations to Shane.
Yeah. 40 years ago, I would have had to listen to it on the radio.
Yeah. You know what? I just love how there just seems to be stories every single couple of weeks now, you know, and fairy tale stories, you know, and this is the number one fairy tale story for the last 20 years is Shane getting his world title. So I think it's great for pool. I think it's great for Matchroom. They'll be delighted as well. I thought they put on a great event. It was a fantastic ending for them. The defending champion against the guy who, you know, had to win one eventually.
The defending champion and the guy who says,
really, it was
the defending champion and the guy who took a dig at Shane in the press conference, you know, picking on him that he's not a world champion.
Well, technically, you could say all 5 of them took a dig at Shane during the press conference. So, I mean, you can't put it all on Alvin. I thought it was a pretty quick comment, to be honest, unrehearsed. I thought he did quite well.
it's all in good fun. Like I made a post about it on the podcast page. It's all in good fun. It's not like Albin is like being malicious. He poked a little fun at him, and I think like how poetic is it that the guy who poked fun at Shane for not having a world title gets to try to keep that going, and Shane beat him for it. I mean, like
I'll close. I want to add one thing. I saw a comment about Earl Strickland. I've now changed what I'm rooting for in 2022, 2023. I'm rooting for Shane to win his 6th U.S. Open, and then Earl to come back and win back-to-back and take 7 of them. It was like, where'd you come from? You're supposed to be weird. Okay.
You're digging deep there, but yeah,
That'd be pretty
like the idea.
And then Mike Siegel comes back and wins the next 9.
Oh
in a row.
God, yeah. Oh really?
If we're gonna go crazy, let's go crazy with it.
Yeah,
right?
that's crazy.
But I think in replying to Nate, is it not time we stopped everything being about Moscone Cup for every single event?
Yeah.
We're not all Americans and Europeans for these individual events. It's not about there's a European against an
I
American.
love how he says that. He says that when the American finally wins something.
Yeah.
God, you are just the
He's still
worst.
one of my
bro.
4 players.
The one time in the last
Oh,
20 years an American wins a world championship, and now all of a sudden,
He's
we don't
stuck
gotta have
needling
these
it,
separations here. We
Hold
don't gotta.
Yeah,
Oh my God, Jim! Give me a break.
We had messages before the final. I'll pull them up and
Oh
show
my
everybody.
God!
Nice one, Mike.
Oh, you did say like the Cinderella stories we've been getting. This is obviously thing number 1, but I think you got to have at least an honorable mention to Alex Kazakis with the Masters. I mean, this trumps that.
That's
But
what
I mean
I mean.
that
Every
was
single
really,
tournament, there
that
seems to be
really
this. Every single tournament, there's a story. There's something fantastic that happens, and it's just it's great for the sport, And I can't wait to see what happens next. What's going to happen at the World Cup of Pool? What's going to happen at the next Masters? The UK Open.
Stephanie said, "What will we do with our lives until the next event?"
You got to practice.
Practice.
Yeah.
I'm going to my next event in 2 days. I'll be flying to New York City for the NBL national event. I'll be doing comms for it the entire time. Fun. So make sure to tune in to listen to that so you can hear my sweet, sweet voice on the comms the entire time. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm going to the GB9 on Thursday, and then I've got the UK Open, playing the UK Open after that. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to play in the UK Open.
Of course.
I am. At least 2 matches.
Yeah.
We'll do well.
I think you'll do better than that, Jimmy.
What I want to know is, are you one of your are you going to extend your 5 players and you're going to take yourself, or do you only take good players?
Mike won't allow me to take myself as well. I mean, no.
Negative.
I only get.
Nope,
he made
negative.
it quite clear. I only get those 4. So if I do get an Alvin or a Shane or a Josh or
You're
a
going to
Jason,
kick Jason out so you can keep yourself.
No. If I do end up having to play one of those 4 in the final, then I'm gonna sandbag the final. Yeah. It's all right.
Congratulations! You should move to America. We'd be a good place for you.
You like sandbagging over
stuff
there.
like that.
Yeah.
All right, we're closing out. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
There's so many accusations of sandbagging. Somebody could win the leg, run 11 racks, and they post on the internet that the other guy dumped. It's so stupid.
On that note, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah, let's not talk about Anton Raga.
That's
All right.